You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The high-end talent for Syracuse football showed up against UNLV. Pretty much all of them. All of the big stars for Syracuse football. And who would you like to start with? I'm going to start with LeQuint Allen. Because LeQuint Allen saved the game for Syracuse football. Yes, what did he have? 3-4 touchdowns in this game? I'm looking at the stats right now. LeQuint Allen had 4 touchdowns in this game. But his biggest play was not even a touchdown. Nope. His biggest play was on a 4th and 1 at the end of the 4th quarter. Syracuse is driving to tie the game. They're 4th and 1 in UNLV territory. Obvious, you got to go for it at this point. You got to go for it. And Syracuse lines up with 2 backs. And Kyle McCord is under center. And Syracuse has run this play before where Kyle McCord will turn under center and he will just hand the ball off to someone who is coming across diagonally. And that, in this case, was LeQuint Allen. So it's a little bit like an end around. And LeQuint Allen is dead to rights. He's turning the edge. He's dead. The game's over. And I'm sure people would have criticized the play call, even though I've seen Syracuse run it a million times and it's worked. This would have been the one time it didn't work, but LeQuint Allen stayed on his feet. And I think he didn't just pick up the first down. He picked up like 15, and plus he got a late hit out of bounds penalty as well from someone on UNLV, which was a half the distance to the goal. It ended up becoming 1st and goal Syracuse on that 4th and 1 play. That was the biggest run of the game, and it was not one of any of his 4 touchdowns. He had 4 of them, and the most important play was converting that 4th and 1 where he breaks a tackle, thank goodness, and saves the game for Syracuse football because, man, it would have been a disaster if the Orange didn't win this game. For context, Syracuse football in this one, I'm looking at the stats right now, had 492 total yards. UNLV, 354. Syracuse had more passing yards in this game. They had more rushing yards than UNLV in this game. They had fewer penalties than UNLV. Syracuse had 7 penalties. UNLV had 9 penalties for 109 yards. Time of possession, Syracuse was at 39-38. UNLV 20-22. Both teams also had 1 turnover and scored the same number of points off those turnovers, 7-7. Syracuse basically outstatted UNLV in every category. And if LeQuint Allen doesn't break a tackle on 4th and 1, it's all for naught. Syracuse would have lost this game. Special teams. All right, so that's LeQuint Allen. Let's now talk about Oronde Gadsden. And Oronde Gadsden, coming into this game, in his last 2 games combined, had 3 catches for 16 total yards. Very unlike Oronde Gadsden. Oronde Gadsden is an All-American tight end, and that is not hyperbole. He is actually an All-American. Look it up from a couple years ago. Last year, he was obviously hurt, but Oronde Gadsden is an All-American, and in this one, he showed up. He led Syracuse with 10 catches and 142 yards, but ironically, he didn't even have a touchdown, and he also led the Orange in targets with 14. Yeah, sure, the stats look great and all, but really what separated Oronde Gadsden in this game not necessarily compared to other games, but why I'm really shouting him out here, he was Kyle McCord's go-to on 3rd downs throughout the whole game. I charted 5 times in this one where Kyle McCord found Oronde Gadsden on 3rd down for a 1st down. So he was not only getting all these catches, getting all these yards, he was getting clutch catches and clutch yards, running good routes. He had that big deep in that was a 15-yarder on a 3rd and 10 that I was like, wow, that was a great route by Oronde Gadsden. It was such a great route that the broadcast thought that when Gadsden was making his break inside, that he was maybe running the wrong route. He was not. So Oronde Gadsden, and obviously I'm missing one big catch he had. It was on a second down play at the very end of overtime, which set up LeQuint Allen's 1-yard touchdown run where he broke another tackle to get into the end zone. So shout out to Oronde Gadsden. He stepped up against UNLV tonight. He was sensational. We can also talk about Kyle McCord. 40 of 63 for 355. So another 300-yard game, 3 touchdowns, and he had that 1 interception. But the thing with Kyle McCord that impresses me the most is that it doesn't seem like anything phases him. Kyle McCord threw a back-breaking interception in the fourth quarter. A back-breaking interception. It's 31-31. Syracuse is well within field goal range. They are in the red zone. It's third down. Worst case scenario, listen, I know the special teams is really bad, so you can't guarantee that Syracuse was going to make a field goal on that one. But you have to preserve the opportunity to get points. And Kyle McCord threw an interception, and it was a bad interception. Jackson Woodard, the UNLV linebacker, basically ran the routes for LeQuint Allen. Basically ran the route for him. It was a really bad decision. And UNLV goes right down the field, 94 yards for a touchdown. It could have a lot of quarterbacks that would have killed their confidence. Would have killed them. Not Kyle McCord. Did he get a little lucky? He did get a little lucky. Jackson Woodard dropped a game-winning interception on that drive, again in the red zone from Kyle McCord. But hey, the great players are going to make mistakes. And you know what they do when a team makes a mistake, when an opponent makes a mistake? When you drop an interception, they make you pay. I knew when Woodard dropped that interception, when Syracuse is going for the tie down by 7 late in the fourth, that Syracuse was going to tie the game. That was it right there for UNLV. If Woodard hangs on to that ball, we're having a very different conversation. We're starting with the negative for the most part. We're talking about how Syracuse did so many things right in this one. They ran the football efficiently. They controlled the clock. They got a turnover on defense, but they lost because the special teams was terrible and Kyle McCord threw 2 red zone interceptions. But nope, we got a little lucky. Woodard drops the ball. Might have been even the next play where McCord finds Jackson Meeks for the game-tying touchdown. Fadil Diggs on defense was also sensational in this one. He had that one missed tackle, but he was flying all over the field. I thought Barron had a good game as well. The high-end talent for Syracuse, they showed up. Yeah, I'm looking at Fadil Diggs' stats. 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 6 total tackles in the game. He was Syracuse's best defender tonight. He was really good. Made that one mistake, 1 missed tackle, but that's that. As my microphone decides it wants to fall on me, but that's okay. I got it. I picked it right back up. Just like Syracuse, how everything's all going well, then they get punched in the mouth, aka a microphone falling, but then they get right back up and they find a way to win. Hence why I am still recording this podcast, even though my microphone fell. Whatever. I make jokes. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're not. Maybe I swung and missed. Whatever. So the high-end talent for Syracuse, they showed up against UNLV.